My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Ouija. And this review will have spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch this review because I will be going in depth. Now, this movie has like a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody hates it, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as people say. It's definitely not great. I don't even like it, but it's far from one of the worst horror movies ever made. Not even close. Like, there are legitimately scary moments in this movie. Like that scene where the ghost haunts each and every one of the friends and gives them the message, "Hi friend," in its own way, shape, or form. I think those are some really effective moments, especially when the two sisters see the front door slam by itself and they run up to the closet and just hide, and the tension's going and the tension's going, and she looks out and it just says "Hi friend" on the computer. There's not a cheap jump scare, it's legitimately really tense. Then you've also got this one scene where they're trying to communicate with their friend Debbie, and then it turns out they're not communicating with Debbie, they're communicating with an entirely different ghost. And every time that reveal comes about, I get some real chills. And then the main character picks up the triangle to see where the ghost is, and that gets me on edge. And then the scene further escalates when the ghost is just like, "One, mother is coming," and you see the big mother ghost charging at them. I think that's a really effective moment as well. That entire scene has me on edge. Then we've also got this one scene where the main character is in the attic and she looks at a door and puts it down, and then she crawls to the other side. She hears a noise and the door is right beside her. That's a great moment. And then I also think the end credits are legitimately really creepy and filled with atmosphere. Also, the end act of this movie has a hidden room in the house, and I love that kind of stuff. But that's not to say there's not some terrible scares in this movie as well. I hate it every time any movie does this, when it's a cheap, fake jump scare. Like, I honestly enjoy jump scares. I think they're a lot of fun, and they're the payoff to the tension that's building. But when it's just this guy being like, "Hello," and it's just not threatening, it's just one of their friends pulling a prank or being mistaken or whatever, it just kills the momentum of the scene and it just pisses me off. It's lazy and it never works. And there's far too many of those kind of scares in this movie. I also think the opening death scene is really stupid, where the one girl, Debbie, just picks up the triangle and we see her eye turn white, and then she just hangs herself with Christmas lights. Like, for the opening scare, you want to nail it, and that just did nothing for me. I think the flossing scene is incredibly stupid. There's no bit of tension or atmosphere or build-up of any kind, and then we just see the one character's mouth sewn shut. It just looks so goofy and stupid, and I can't take it seriously. Like, the CGI in this movie is really bad and takes me out of certain moments. And then the movie ends on this note where the Ouija board is destroyed, but then the main character goes back to her room and it's sitting there. And it's a good, predictable note for the movie to end on. And then she picks up the triangle, and if it just ended there, it would be a really good scene. But then they have to do the boom sound, and it just ruins it. I don't mind jump scares when there's actually something there to be scared of. Not when it's fake and not when it's just a loud noise, when it's actually owned, and that was very cheap. So, even though there are some scary moments, that's not to say it's a terrifying movie, because they definitely do butcher the tension in certain moments. I also think this movie is not well paced at all. The movie begins with these two different opening scenes. The first one is these two girls playing with the Ouija board, and then we get Debbie's death. And I just don't think we needed the first opening scene at all, because now that there's two scenes, it just makes the pacing feel off. It takes a while for the movie to gain a certain rhythm to it. And yeah, just I'm not a fan of the two different opening scenes. Just have one opening scene. That's why they call it the opening scene. And they actually even do that with the end of the movie because everything's wrapping up. They beat the ghost. It's going to be a happy ending. And then, surprise, the ghost is still alive and you've got another 15 minutes. And it's just, why would you do that? Pacing wise, it doesn't work because you were already wrapping up. The tension was already to a nice ending, and then you just whoop, shot right back up immediately, and now it just makes the movie feel much longer than it is. I hate when movies do that. It kind of reminds me of The Batman, because that movie's wrapping up, and then it's, surprise, there's another 40 minutes, there's bombs all over the city. I hate that. Just, if you're wrapping up, actually wrap up the story. And I also think the friends are really dumb in this movie. Now, I know it's a horror movie. The people are dumb in every horror movie, but still. They're playing with the Ouija board, and the ghost says goodbye, and all the lights go off, and they're like, okay, who did that? They're all sitting at the table. What do you mean, who did that? So that annoys me, and I think Debbie helping the main character defeat the ghost at the very end is a very stupid plot beat. It kind of reminds me of Insidious Chapter 3 that came out under a year later, and I think that movie did it much more effectively. And speaking of Insidious, Len Shay's introduction happens way too late into this movie. She should have been established well before that. And then I also just don't really care about any of the characters and their relationships. The main relationship between the two sisters, I thought they were going for that being the heart and soul of this movie. But then it just doesn't get dealt with at all. It just feels forgotten. So I wish they did a bit more with the sisters. I didn't care about the boyfriend and girlfriend. I didn't care about the boyfriend who just lost his girlfriend. So none of that works. The performances are fine. They're not terrible, but no one really elevates their character. Olivia Cooke definitely does the best job, but it's still a fine performance at best. But my biggest issue with this movie is that it just doesn't make any sense. The second you stop and think about it, it all falls apart. So like the movie leads you to believe that this little girl ghost is the victim. Her mouth is thrown up, so they have to find her body in the real world and cut the strings. And once you do that, she can stop the evil ghost that is her mother. Okay? You following me? Surprise! The good little girl ghost is actually the evil one, and now she can go out and kill people. So the idea of it's kind of clever, where you're just like, okay, so they think they're helping the good ghost, but really they're helping the bad ghost. But then you just are left with the question, well, if the bad ghost couldn't kill anyone until they cut the strings, then who was killing people this entire movie? It wasn't Debbie. It wasn't the mother. Who was it? Who was the ghost killing everyone? Now I know when they cut the strings, suddenly people can just go poof like that. So maybe they're going for an angle where she's more powerful like that, but she was still killing all these people. And just the way the movie gives you all the information, and when you stop and think about the information given to you, then it doesn't make sense how anyone was dying throughout this entire movie and who was killing them. It just doesn't. It's a complete mess. But look, this movie isn't as bad as people say. Even like a jump scare fest like this, I find to be more entertaining than lots of other movies. I always say the only thing worse than a bad movie is a boring movie. And I don't think this movie is boring. It drags in moments, it doesn't have the best pacing, but at least it's an entertaining enough of a watch. It does have some legitimately scary moments, and even though the ending twist doesn't make an ounce of sense, there's some really stupid moments, some terrible CGI, some fake jump scares, I do think this movie isn't as bad as people say. Once again, not good. I don't recommend it, but you can find much worse than this. So I'm going to go ahead and give Ouija, let's go a 4.5 out of 10. Okay, what do you think of Ouija? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin